Alright, good morning. Today we're looking at another small ship build that I'm calling the Southern Cross. I know I already had another ship called the Southern Cross, but this one, the ship itself is actually formed in the shape of a cross. So that's what I'm going to call it. Maybe like something stupid like Southern Cross Mini or Southern Cross 2.0 or something. I don't know, I'll think of something. But this is it. I wanted to do something a little different with this build and only use one engine and see if I could keep the weapons maxed out, shield, and the mobility at 100, and I was able to do it just barely. I would say it was challenging. These small ship builds are always challenging. It's all about compromise and really space efficiency. So anyways, this is what I come up with, and there's not much to it. It's a small ship. I think it's 15 meters by 15 meters to the center line, and it's actually in the shape of a cross. So if we go over here and talk to this guy.
We're asking everyone to take... Okay, no problem.
You can see it's just in the shape of a cross. Very simple. I don't know if anybody ever watched Babylon 5, but the Omega destroyers, they have that rotating center section. If I could get this somehow to rotate, that would have been awesome. You know, have like this artificial gravity centrifuge here, but you're not going to be able to do that in this game. But that's kind of what it reminds me of, this little baby Omega destroyer. Whoops.
Okay, no problem.
So I was able to max out the mobility just barely. The mass limit of this ship was 449, which is what we're at. Anything else, if I add even a single piece, structural or the mobility goes down to 99. So that was no bueno. It's all about just cutting out every last piece of mass you don't need. And the only two pieces on this ship that don't contribute directly to the stats of the ship are this nose piece from Hope Tech and this Deimos piece from New Atlantis. Excuse me. Everything else on this ship can be purchased at Neon City, except for these two trim pieces. The weapons, I'm using 4 of these PBO 175 auto helium beams mounted on the chin, and on the wingtips I've got 4 PBO 100 auto neutron beams, and I'm using the bulwark shield generator on top. I did something, I don't usually use these fuel tanks, but they're small. I didn't want the ship to just be small, I wanted it to look small. So I use these 4 200G HE fuel. Actually, there's only 3 of them, and then the 4th one is a 100G. Normally, I don't like to use 2 landing gears because it looks like the ship is just gonna. It's just they usually have 1 strut, so it looks like the ship's gonna fall over forward or fall over backwards. But these particular gears have 2, one in the front and one in the back of these landing struts, so it makes it look like something that could legitimately like balance pretty decently. So we're going to go with that because I don't know how else to fix that anyways. And the thing with the wings here, normally you would have people would put the engines on the wings and just have 2 engines. But like I said, I wanted to do one engine. So I was like, all right, well, how am I going to do the wings and not have them look completely different from each other? Because most reactors look like something stupid here. Did I miss it? There we go. Let's look at like the 104. This is the best B-class reactor you can get. But if I were to put that here, it would just look stupid. The ship has no, like, I would never fly in something like this. I don't care how good or like powerful the ship is. It looks dumb. So what I needed was a reactor that looks like a structural piece. And this is the only one I could find. This Ion Beam H1030 reactor. And it looks just like this Deimos Hull A. It's not exactly the same. If you look down, you can see it's got the grooves are in a different pattern, and it's got this stripe, but the shape is identical to the, well, you can't put it there, but see what I'm saying? They're like the same exact shape. So it's close enough. This is my OCD can deal with this, and we're going to go with it because, like I said, I don't know what else to do to change that up. But those were the only 2 pieces in the ship that 6 tons of mass that aren't directly tied into like some kind of critical function of the ship. Why does something always fall off when I do this? All right. So there's not much to this ship. It really, I'm not even gonna pause the video to take this apart. It'll only take me a second. I was able to get a 2x1 hab, thankfully, and at the bottom, like I was trying some different cockpit configurations earlier and originally, and it didn't, like I can only get 4 people max. And then I got the big brain idea to use this bottom loader cockpit, and then that way I could just make the whole bottom of the ship this 2x1 hab. If you ever need to mount like something here, you know, you normally you couldn't put a gun there because it won't mount, but you can buy these equipment plates from Neon and stick the weapon on there, and then you can mount it on something that normally only a structural piece, not a weapon, would be able to mount to. But that's how I used. That's how I mounted these missile launchers on the wings and this comm spike on the tail. Alright, so the bed of the ship is just this control station from Stroud, 2x1. This gives me 4 crew members. This cockpit, this Kontiki B400 gives me another 4 for a total of 8. The ship bed 200 is going to be in a rear configuration. It can be forwards or backwards. Slap that on there like that. These 2 gears are going to be Accu Lander 11 landing gears. And these things have 3 different configurations. They can be to the left, centered, or to the right. We're going to do them to the right. Nothing changes. They have the same landing thrust. Their mass is all the same. It just looks better in this way because they just slope outwards. And we'll do the cockpit next. This is a Kontiki B400 bridge. It's a bottom loader, so you have to have a hab below it, so you can climb into. You can go into the hab and then climb up into the cockpit from the bottom. And it'll sit there just like that. Excuse me. As far as the wings, this was like the thing I agonized the most probably over the longest time is trying to how to. I didn't. Man, I went through like 27 different configurations for this. So we're going to use this ion beam H1030 reactor. Like I said, there are some better reactors that give you a little bit more power, but as far as looks, this is the best way to go. A Deimos Hull A on the, what is that, the starboard side. And then in the center, an R3000 Alpha grav drive. Now this is an A-class grav drive. And I always tell people, even though this is a Class B ship, you always want to use the smallest grav drive you can get away with. So even if it's less, like this, this is an A-class reactor or grav drive. But if you were to use a B-class, because this is a B-class ship, it would weigh a lot more, and it's completely unnecessary. Because this ship has no cargo, then you're just putting weight into a grav drive you don't need. So even if you can get away with like an A-class reactor on a C-class and still get your jump range up to 30, then do that, because like I said, there's no reason to ever go more as far as weight into the grav drive than you need. The single engine, I think these are the single most powerful engines for the B class, and this is the Slayton Aerospace SAE 5660s. We're just going to slap that right there. And then you see we have our T shape. And let's see. As far as fuel, I could have, like I said, I could have done different configurations for the fuel and probably made it a little bit more efficient. But I wanted the ship to look small, and these are small fuel tanks. So I don't use these fuel tanks very often, so it's kind of cool to do something a little different. But there's 4 of them total. 3 are going to be these 200G HE3 tanks. And then the last one, I just made a 100G HE3 tank because I ran out of mass. I could move the Kontiki B down. There's a one bridge like this one that's slightly smaller. It's the same size physically, but it's smaller as far as mass. And I don't think the little loss in cargo is going to make any difference when you're only at 340 to begin with. So if you wanted more fuel, if you wanted to add another, or up that to a 200 G tank, you could do that. Honestly, I just don't feel like filling the neon switching this out. As far as the shield, we're using a Vanguard Bulwark shield generator. As far as the weight to shield power that you get out of it ratio, this is easily the best shield generator you can get. There is a B class generator that's slightly more. It gives you 1500 instead of 1450, but it weighs 20 tons more, and it's a side mounted one, so you'd have to stick it somewhere where it's mounted out the side, and I don't want to do that. So we're going to stick with the Vanguard Bulwark shield generator. Just to cap off the nose, you could put a window if you wanted. You could do it like that. But I'm just going to put the Hope Tech Nose B4. And as far as weapons, I'm going to use 4 of these PBO 175 auto helion beams. Now, if you don't know how these autos versus the non-autos work, this is how it is. Auto weapons always fire at full power, but they run out of charge. And when they do, they stop firing, and they won't, until they recharge, they won't fire again. How much power you have in each weapon system determines how fast they recharge. Non-auto weapons, the regular ones, always fire. They'll never run out of power, but how hard they hit is determined by how much power they have in each system. So if you only have half the power in each system, they're only going to hit half as hard as they could. But they can just fire forever. You know, they never run out of charge. Space combat in this game is pretty easy, so usually, you know, by the time you run out of charge on one of these weapons, the ships you're fighting are already dead. And they recharge pretty quick even when they do run out of power. We're going to mount the 4 PBO 170, PBO 100s auto neutron beams on the wingtips. And obviously we're using these Horizon weapon mounts, so we can get 2 weapons on one hard point here, or on one structural point here. And then I kind of had to cheat a little bit because I was running into the mass limit, so I used A-class CE-19 missile launchers, 4 of them. It irritates me that you can't paint these, but whatever. The top of this Kontiki bridge has 2 weapon hard points, which is nice. And I had to use the equipment plates to get these mounted on the wings here like that. I like these missile launchers too because they're flat. There are literally no missile launchers that I could find that are flat like this on the B class. So I just went with the A class ones. Not that it mattered anyway because I didn't have the mass to put the B class ones on there. And then I just put these this comm spike here on the tail because I had room for something to go there. I didn't have anywhere to put the conduction grid. Whatever. So this is it. Like I said, the main compromise on this ship is cargo. There is none. So this is basically, in my mind, a Starfighter build that would be used for like station defense or planetary defense, or maybe convoy escorts. Something that's not going to require, you know, long-term, or you know, like long distance, staying inside the ship for long periods of time. You wouldn't want to do that. I think that's it. So, like I said, I'm happy with how that came out. I'm glad these gears had the 2 struts. That was really bugging me because I don't like having ships with just that one strut where it would just look like the game doesn't care. As long as there's enough landing thrust, you could have one gear on this side and nothing else. You know, like I could delete the one on the other side if I had a gear on this side that was strong enough, and the game wouldn't care. Like, even though physics would say the ship would just fall over on its side. But, you know, I'm trying to keep this aesthetically pleasing. It's a rear loader, unfortunately. Alright, we got a control station here for 4 crew members. This is where we put Cora's dead body in the fridge. And then straight up into the cockpit from the below. I kicked all the crew members off. If you have 8 crew members on the ship this small, they're going to stand up here in the cockpit and just constantly talk. Like, they need to have an option to just turn that shit off because it drives me crazy. I like the single engine thing. Like I said, I've never done it before, so it was really, I like these challenging builds. See if what I can get away with. Originally, I was thinking about giving up because I was trying some different things that just weren't working out. But, what the hell? Why is my shield so low? So, like, if I fire my weapons, if you look at the, there's the, particle weapons. See how it ran out? And now it's just barely shooting. How much power? See how it's starting to recharge up there on the right, top right of the circle? That's because they're auto weapons. You know, they'll fire at full power when you're firing them, but then when they run out of that power, they just stop. So that's auto weapons. Whereas the non-auto weapons, you can just hold the button down and they just fire forever. Anyways, let's go over to the Serpentis system and take it for a spin. Of course, another asteroid field. Every stupid planet over here has an asteroid field.
You shall be judged. Our engines are offline.
So my weapons are all out. I'll give it a second to recharge.
Craft drive down. We end this now.
That's it. So that's that. Let me check something real quick. Apparently there's some new stuff you can loot that like reduces the mass of your ship, which just sounds pretty cool. I haven't actually played the expansion yet. I just bought it. I spend like 99% of my time in the shipbuilder just messing around. It gives me something to do when I'm not working. But let me find the sun, get pointed into it, and then we'll take a look at some glamour shots. So this is the ship, one engine, very simplistic design, very iconic shape there, just in the shape of a cross. Like I said, I think it looks like a mini Omega destroyer from Babylon 5, but I don't know if anybody else has watched that. It's kind of an older show. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys like it, and I will chat with you later. Thanks.